Yeah, there's one in that room. You guys together? Great. That's it? Perfect. Sign your name right there on that line. Okay, yep. Signature. Of course, you can take that pen with you. Go have a seat. Congratulations.
Hi there. Christina, where are you
Good
going?
morning. How are you?
Good morning.
Do you have a pen? Perfect. Can you just sign your name right there on that line? Right there.
Christina, where are you going?
Congratulations.
You're wearing a mask. I couldn't tell who it was.
Do you have a pen?
Good
Hi
morning,
there.
ma'am.
Just any seat you would like.
Sign right there on that line.
Okay. I'm going to be full of it. I'm going to be full of it a lot. Hello.
Hi there.
Any of the open seats?
How are you? Good. Feel like you're getting on an airplane with all your stuff?
While you're all
Come on up.
waiting here today, if you'd take your certificates and check them while you're seated here, make sure all the information on the certificate is accurate and that the spelling of your name is accurate. Ma'am, did you understand what I said? Sir, if you would check your certificate and make sure all the information is accurate and that your name is spelled correctly once you have a chance to settle in. If it is not, you need to let me know.
Do you have a pen with you? All right. Have that one. You can sign your name on that line.
No. Any of the open seats?
Remember, you're gonna keep your certificate out. Just come on up. And then you have a pen with you today? Yes. Perfect. We're gonna need you to sign your certificate. Sign it right there on that line.
Hello. Any of the open seats? Okay, thank you.
Good morning, sir. Sir, once you get settled, if you would take a look at your certificate and just make sure that all the information is accurate and the spelling of your name is as well.
Did somebody leave this at the front when they came for security?
Okay, thank you, ma'am. think we have 15 too. Yep. Sir, if you would have her check the certificate and make sure all the biographical information is accurate and that her name is spelled correctly, let me know if it is not, okay?
You
Yes,
will have
ma'am.
16 because
Okay.
Greg got the numbers off.
That's okay.
You got one lady coming through the door and another.
We just need to add a packet and a chair, and they'll do that. So we have 16, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. That's all righty. Thank you, ma'am.
The last one's getting ready to come through, and then
Okay,
you got two. One had to use the restroom.
that's okay. That's just fine.
Those of you that are in here, if you happen to have cellular phones, would you make sure that they are either shut off or on the silent mode so they do not ring during the ceremony, please? Thank you.
Good morning. We're just waiting on one, and I'll brief them later, but I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Kathleen Sly. I'm an Immigration Services Officer with U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services in the Kansas City field office. In a few minutes, the judge will be in, and he will ask me, he'll say a few words, and then ask me to introduce each of you. When I do, I'll say your name. If you've requested a name change, it will be your new name. So just pay attention if you have done so. And you'll stand, and I'll say the country from which you come. And then you can be seated, and I'll introduce the next applicant until all of you are introduced to the judge. If you're here interpreting for someone, sir, you must interpret the oath so she can say it in her own language. And that's the sole purpose of you being here today, is to interpret that oath. The oath in your packets, you'll see a small piece of paper. This piece of paper has websites that you can find information at regarding applying for a passport. After today, you'll all need a U.S. passport to travel outside the country. Not that too many people are, but just so you know. So you'll have to do that. Today you can register to vote. There's information in your packet. You will be required to update your Social Security status. That's important for when you retire, okay? And then there are resources and websites about petitioning for alien relatives, okay? So all this information can be attained. So you don't have to look at it right now. Also, you each have an agenda or a program. Inside that program, on the left side, you'll see the oath. If when the court clerk or the judge ask you to stand, raise your right hand to say the oath. You can read it from that program. Okay? So there's a lot of information. There's a lot of things that'll change after today for the good, I'm sure. And I'm very excited to be, and that your name is spelled correctly. And if it's good, you don't have to let me know. If it isn't, you have to let me know. We have a couple of minutes. Does anyone have a question for me? Okay. There's probably nothing that you can't find out on those websites, so I'm ready when you guys are.
Okay, well, it's not even 9 yet, I don't think.
No, it's about 4 minutes still.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Another thing I might remind you of, if you have young children under 18 that live with you and they are your biological children, they too will become U.S. citizens the day that you do, okay? The only thing you have to know about that is you can apply for their U.S. passport at the same time you do. You may also file an N-600 form with USCIS, and all the instructions and the form can be obtained at our website, uscis.gov. But that's very important for you guys with little ones. Thank you all for your attention.
States District Court for the District of Kansas is now in session. The Honorable Julie A. Robinson presiding.
Okay, you can be seated. My name is Julie Robinson, and I am the Chief Judge of this court. And on behalf of the judges of the federal court here in Kansas, I'd like to welcome you to the courthouse today. And also on behalf of all of the judges, offer you a congratulations on reaching this milestone in your personal journey. I'll now call upon Kathleen Schley, who is the Naturalization Examiner. Ms. Schley?
May it please the court, Your Honor. This morning, I would like to introduce 16 applicants for United States citizenship. These applicants come from 11 different countries. They have met the formal requirements imposed by law for United States citizenship. Upon taking the oath of allegiance, each will have the rights, the privileges, and the responsibilities of U.S. citizenship. As I call your name, please stand, and I will announce the country from which you come, and then you can be seated, and I'll introduce the next new citizen. Ram Chandra Raseli from Burma, Bhutan. Sarita Raseli from Bhutan. Carlos Villacana from Mexico. Vilma Heidi Salinas from El Salvador. Jane Wanjiru Mugera from Kenya. Linda Decker Lee from China. Tsai Yin Ye from Taiwan. Warataya Jomjak Ro from Thailand. Sanchu Maya Gimire from Bhutan. Akil Bahadur Gimire from Bhutan. Margaret Se Mo from Burma. Caroline Titus Miller from India. Za Lian from Burma. Christius Ndiga Mambo from Kenya. Nafa Shide Karafo from Eritrea. Gideon Edward Mambo from Tanzania. And this, Your Honor, is our class of applicants for this morning. At this time, the government moves that the oath of allegiance be administered to the prospective citizens of the United States and that all petitions for change of name be granted.
I am happy and honored to grant that motion. And I'll now turn to Mr. Hokanson, who will administer the oath of citizenship to you, and ask that you stand. It is a long oath, so if you're not able to stand, please remain seated. All right, Mr. Hokanson?
Thank you, Your Honor. I would ask that if you could stand as you're able. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. Hereby declare on oath that I absolutely and entirely renounce and abjure all allegiance and fidelity to any foreign prince, potentate, state or sovereignty, of whom or which I have heretofore been a subject or citizen, that I will support and defend the Constitution and laws of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that I will bear arms on behalf of the United States when required by the law, that I will perform non-combatant service in the armed forces of the United States when required by the law, that I will perform work of national importance under civilian direction when required by the law, and that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion. So help me God. Thank you.
You can be seated. And first, I'd like to say congratulations to America's newest citizens. I'm pretty confident in saying at this particular moment, you are America's newest citizens. Yesterday, we swore in a lot of people, and we will continue to swear in more people later on this morning. There are probably naturalization ceremonies going on in other parts of the country, but probably at this minute, you can say that I am one of America's newest citizens. But the importance is that it does not matter whether you have been a citizen for 30 seconds or 30 years or your entire lifetime. It does not matter if you are a first-generation American or a 10th-generation American. We all have the same rights and benefits and privileges of citizenship. We all have the same responsibilities and burdens of citizenship. The oath that you just took speaks to some of the burdens and responsibilities of citizenship. We can be called into military service or civilian service, for example. But there are many benefits and privileges and rights of citizenship as well. One of the most important rights, and perhaps the most important right, is the right to vote. And so in your packets are registration forms so that you can register to vote. And I encourage you to fill those out and send those in as soon as you can, so that you'll be eligible to vote in the elections that are coming up this summer and fall. Local elections, national and state elections. We are living in times of difficulty. We're in the middle of a health crisis, and that's why we're here in this room together like this, and that your family and friends and everyone who helped you get to this point today can't be with you, but hopefully can watch because we're live streaming this. We're also, of course, in a time of civil unrest where people are exercising their First Amendment rights to go into the public and to express their frustration, their concern, even their ideas of how we can change things to make this country better. This country was founded on ideals and principles that are perfect or nearly perfect, but I think we all understand that we still all have lots of work to do, because although our country is founded on these perfect principles, we are imperfect human beings, every single one of us. We are flawed. And so we're always striving as a country to reach for those ideals and to reach the highest level, but we're not there yet. And so I encourage you to vote and to engage in other ways. Perhaps you would like to run for elected office and would offer voice and ideas that can change and strengthen our country. Or perhaps you know someone who is running for office that you would like to support and help become elected because you agree with their positions or their ideas. many other ways, of course, to reach out and help one another through volunteer efforts, through taking care of children, mentoring children. But I will say that as people who have worked very hard to become American citizens, it has taken a lot of time and a lot of patience, study, and work on your part to get to this point today. You value American citizenship. There are people in this country that are born citizens that don't value citizenship like you do. I think it's important that they hear from you, that they hear your voice about why you work so hard to become an American citizen and what that means to you and all the challenges and struggles that you work through to become an American citizen. Those are voices and those are stories that I think we can all benefit from hearing. So I thank you for doing all of the work that brings you here today. I thank you for wanting to be an American citizen. I always visualize America as a tapestry made up of millions and millions of beautiful threads. And today we sew in 16 more threads into the tapestry, which makes America stronger, makes America more beautiful. Because the more people that we have that desperately and passionately want to be American citizens and that want to give their all, talents, skills, life experiences, the better the country we are. So thank you for being here. Thank you for doing all the work that it took to get here today. I wish you good health, and I wish you the very best. And my congratulations. We'll be in recess.
All rise. Thank you. The court stands in recess.
Ladies and gentlemen, I offer my congratulations to each and every one of you for what you have accomplished here today. Look around your area to make sure that you have all of your belongings and all your papers. We will exit the building over here on the side.
Congratulations, everyone.
Wave that flag. Awesome.
Lord, I lost one of these gloves somewhere.
Uh-oh.
Gotta have us all, this all has to be documented. Okay, great.
Well, I don't know. Colleen should just call her or email her back and say, just go ahead and come, because you left, so.
Might have to go out and ask her. Let's do it. Get it done. Oh, I can do flag stuff. I can help.
Which one of these chairs do I take?
Oh, I'll take one away.
Which one?
I'll take that one away.
I wasn't sure which one was in the.
Oh, we have them all, ma'am, we have them all, we have them all.
Oh, okay.
I got them. Okay. I come in at night and I get them all ready.
You do a great job.
More like shake and bake. I help too.
I remember that commercial. I didn't think you were old enough to remember that. I helped too. Little Southern girl. So we should only have 14 for the next, guys. Mm-hmm. Because we had 16 for the first. Yes, sir. 14 in 3 countries. Good morning. I'll be the only one at this one
Okay.
all day.
Okay.
Till I leave. Thank you, ma'am.
Hello. Anywhere you'd like to sit. Hello. Any open chair?
Thanks, Megan.
Hello. Any open chair would be fine. Hello. Any open chair? Hi there. Any open chair would be fine.
I love the tie and suspenders. Awesome. And socks. Good morning.
Oh, there you go.
I love it. I love his outfit.
Any open chair?
Good morning, sir. Good. Good morning, ma'am.
Hello. Any open chair?
As you're seated here, I'd like you to take a look at your certificates. Make sure all the information on your certificate is accurate and that your name is spelled correctly. If it is not, you need to let me know, okay? If you would take a look at your certificate in the back and just make sure all the information, biographical, and the name is spelled correctly. If it is not, please let me know. And we have two more, sir? Okay, good. Oh, three. Thank you, ma'am.
I have two no-shows coming through, or two no-shows.
Okay,
Your last one's coming through the door here, so.
okay.
Three, you should have, should have had 14,
Mhm.
so 11,
Okay.
is that right? 3,
Mhm. Yeah,
9,
3,
13,
4, 6, 8, 10, 12.
12,
Mhm.
that's right. 13,
And no
14, and then
shows.
there was an extra one in the next one,
Now-
so that would have been 30.
Yesterday, we had a late gentleman for the earlier
Mhm.
interview,
So
and
I'm-
he actually came in, so I'm not going to take him off the list
That's what,
yet.
yeah, that's, I'm holding the certs, and then at the end
So
of the day, if
hopefully-
they don't show
sure.
up, then there'll be no shows,
Sure.
but for this ceremony, that's
Okay, sounds good. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm. 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 That should be your only, one and only registration number. Same as your card.
Those of you that are, if you happen to have cell phones, if you would please either shut them off or put them on silent so they would not ring during the ceremony. It was a regular computer.
Oh, okay, they might have, no, but that's good. It's one of the older A numbers, so you're good. You're good. Oh, just one more? Sure. And they're already separated. There is one that is like that, but the men are on top, the women.
Great, thank you.
Uh-huh. I've already signed all of them. There were 2 new shows.
Okay.
And we're hoping that perhaps they'll come in
Later.
at 10.
Okay.
So if not, I'll let you know.
Okay. Great,
Okay?
thank you.
I just needed you for a little deal real quick. Okay. Good morning. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Kathleen Sly, and I'm an Immigration Services Officer with U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services in the Kansas City Field Office. And I'm really delighted to be helping you through this process today. In your packet, now you don't have to read it right now, but there's a small half piece of paper, and there are online resources for any question that you may have. After today, you will need to apply for a U.S. passport to travel outside the country. Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Today you can register to vote. You will have to update your Social Security status. For you young ones, it won't matter right now, but it will when you're older and ready to retire. So you'll want to do that. And then petitioning for alien relatives. The resources, the websites, all the forms and information can be gotten off of this small piece of paper. Okay? In just a few minutes, the judge will be in, and she'll ask me, she'll ask me to introduce each one of you. I am pleased to introduce you. I will say your name. You will then stand, and I will say the country from which you come. When I'm finished, have a seat, and I will introduce the next new citizen till I've introduced all of you. If you're here translating for an applicant, your only responsibility today is when the applicant stands to say the oath, you are to translate that into her language so that she too can say the oath in her own language. Okay? Inside your packets is a program. You can open it up and have it ready. Yeah, the colored one. No, let me show you. Here we go. Inside this program, you're going to see the oath of allegiance. So have that ready. It may assist you, sir, in translating or interpreting the oath. So, you'll be asked to stand, raise your right hand, and say that oath. So, greetings. All right, so if I am ready, sir. Right, right. And I mentioned it a little bit too, so I think we're good. And ma'am, what is your name? Claire? Okay, good. Thank you, Claire.
All rise. The United States District Court for the District of Kansas is now in session. The Honorable Julie A. Robinson presiding.
You can be seated. My name is Julie Robinson, and I am the Chief Judge of the United States District Court here in Kansas. On behalf of the judges of this court, I welcome you to our courthouse and offer our congratulations on you reaching this milestone in your personal journey. I'll now call on Kathleen Schley, who is the Naturalization Examiner. Schley?
May it please the court, Your Honor. This morning, I would like to introduce 13 applicants for United States citizenship. These applicants come from 3 different countries. They have met the formal requirements imposed by law for United States citizenship. Upon taking the oath of allegiance, each will have the rights, the privileges, and the responsibilities of United States citizenship. As I call your name, please stand. Ha Ninh Gan Pham. Stand. From Vietnam. Diana Samantha Martinez from Mexico. Annabelle Busso Wagner from the Philippines. Eustolia Acosta from Mexico. Carol Melissa Sáenz Montes from Mexico. Saw La La Kaw from Burma. Diana Marlene Mera Doherty from Mexico. Sean Gamidi from India. Sa Ravi Teja Kum Ili from India. Claire Justin Fontana from the Philippines. Thank you, ma'am. David Campuzano from Colombia. Josephine Wanjuku Ndungu from Kenya. Primrose Morris Kaw from Burma. And this, Your Honor, is our class of applicants for this morning. At this time, the government moves that the oath of allegiance be administered to the prospective citizens of the United States and that all petitions for change of name be granted.
I'm happy and pleased to grant that motion. And I'll now call on Mr. Hokanson to administer the oath. It is a long oath. If you're able to stand through the oath, we'd ask you to stand. If you're not able to, you can remain seated.
Thank you, Your Honor. I ask that you please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. hereby declare on oath that I absolutely and entirely renounce and abjure all allegiance and fidelity to any foreign prince, potentate, state or sovereignty, of whom or which I have heretofore been a subject or citizen, that I will support and defend the Constitution and laws of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that I will bear arms on behalf of the United States when required by the law, that I will perform non-combatant service in the armed forces of the United States when required by the law, that I will perform work of national importance under civilian direction when required by the law, and that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion. So help me God. Thank you.
You may be seated. And I'd like to say congratulations to America's newest citizens. Congratulations to you. You may be America's newest citizens, but it really doesn't matter whether you've been a citizen for 30 seconds or 30 years, or whether you are a first-generation American or a 10th-generation American. We all have the same rights and privileges and benefits of citizenship. We all have the same responsibilities and burdens of citizenship. The oath that you just took spoke to some of those burdens and responsibilities, that we can be called into military service, that we can be called into civilian service when in need. But of course there are many burdens and responsibilities and many privileges and benefits of citizenship. One of the most important rights, I think, is the right to vote. And so in your packet that you have with you is a registration form. I encourage you to fill that out, send it in as soon as possible, so that you'll be able to vote in the elections that are coming later in the summer and this fall. There are many ways that you can participate and should participate in government, in politics, just in life in general. We're living in very difficult times. We're in the middle of a health crisis, which is why, unfortunately, your family and friends and everybody that supported and helped you get to today can't be here in the room with you. Hopefully, many of them are able to watch. And I see outside the windows, some of them are watching through the windows. And of course, right now, we are living in times of civil unrest. We're all watching as people are exercising their First Amendment rights and going in public and expressing their concerns and their ideas and protesting things that are unjust, unfair, unequal. We all have a responsibility to work together to make our country better. We know that our country was founded on perfect or nearly perfect principles and ideas about how people should interact and how the government should act towards its people. And we're not meeting those ideals. We never have met them. We're growing closer and closer to them over time. But it takes the work of all of us to become better. And we're not a perfect country because we're made up of imperfect human beings, which is all of us. We're all imperfect. So I encourage you to get involved. Run for elected office if you're interested. or help someone that you know is running for elected office whose ideas and positions you think are correct. Volunteer in your communities, neighborhoods, churches, and other organizations to help people. And I also urge you that because you have had a unique experience, people need to hear about your personal experience. You have worked hard, you have been patient, you have spent time, you have studied, all of which have brought you to today. It took a lot of work for you to become American citizens. You value American citizenship in ways that some people do not. And those people need to hear your voices. They need to hear your experiences, your stories, how difficult it was. You traveled from far distances geographically. You encountered obstacles and challenges when you were here. I think it's important for the American experience, for all of us to understand that and to listen to people such as yourself that have worked hard to become American citizens. So I thank you for wanting to be an American citizen and for willing to work hard to become one. I visualize America as a tapestry that's made up of all of us. We're all individual threads of this beautiful tapestry. And as each one of us gets sewn into that tapestry, and you're now sewn into the tapestry of American citizenship, it becomes more beautiful and it becomes stronger, because the more diverse experiences and skills and talents and education and all of that we have, the stronger we become as a country. So thank you for being a part of the American tapestry. I wish you good health, and I wish you the very best, and thank you, and again, congratulations. We'll be in recess.
All rise. Thank you. The court stands in recess.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to offer you my personal congratulations for what you've accomplished today. Look around your area, make sure you have all your belongings and all the paperwork that you need. We will be exiting through the side door.
Congratulations, everybody.
Ooh, be careful. Yes, ma'am. We are.
Hi, George. How are you?
So this is the only one. If he doesn't, we'll just put a line through both copies.
I like your idea of let's
Yeah.
get them, let's sign them, and then at the end we can.
They've waited a long time,
I know,
so
if we can get them in, let's do that.
absolutely. I agree.
There was a really cute guy on, it was either Monday or Tuesday. Yeah. This is the best birthday ever. I know. So cute. So nice. Get each other's germs, but I don't know how to keep people from touching them.
Okay.
I feel like at that point, it's like, Godspeed. Yeah, I know. Godspeed. You can't say you got it in the building, right? That's true. I can do the flag.
Thank you. I didn't put one down there. I was getting fixated watching outside.
Not ready for 90-degree weather.
I'm not either. I definitely stayed indoors. Yeah, the next group, we only have 28 guys, so We'll take the first 15, and then the second part of it will be a little bit shorter. Too short. But our no-show from 9, maybe they will show. We're hoping.
We ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Whatever.
I think they're rolling in.
Hi there, you're number 1. You get any chair you want. Oh, thank you.
Welcome. They're even wiping down the windows outside. That's good.
Yeah, they were dirty the other day. We dropped it into cleaning them up
Good.
so people could see through them.
Yeah.
Now they got a lot of fingerprints and smudge marks on them.
Yeah. They're doing a good job.
Any open chair.
Good morning.
Hi there. I've got
Good morning.
chairs together right back there in the back.
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna put them down over here.
Hi there. Just any open chair. Hi there. Chairs close together right here.
Good morning.
Hi there, just anywhere you'd like to sit.
Good morning.
Hello, any open seats? Hello. There's two together here and there's two together back there.
Okay.
Okay, sounds good. While we're all here, before everything starts, I'd like to take this opportunity to have you look at your certificates. I want to make sure that all the information on each certificate is accurate, and that your names are spelled correctly. So if you would take the time to look at that and make sure everything looks good. And if everything's good, no problem.
Any open seats?
And this oath ceremony is being live streamed, so the entire ceremony can be seen after by your friends and family and yourself afterwards. And I think they have a piece of paper in there that says the websites or, okay, sounds good, sounds good. I'd like to call your attention to this small half sheet of paper. You don't need to look at it right now, but in this, there is information about applying for a U.S. passport, registering to vote, updating your Social Security status, and then petitioning for alien relatives. Now, after today, you'll have to apply for a U.S. passport to travel outside the United States. So I would recommend you do so at your earliest convenience, just in case there is an emergency and you do have to travel. Also, you with children, biological children that are under age 18 and have their green cards or permanent resident cards and live with you, they will also become citizens as of today. So you can apply for a U.S. passport at the same time as you do for yourself. And in addition, you may want to file a Form N-600 so that they can get their own certificate to prove their U.S. citizenship. So if everybody would, if you haven't taken an opportunity, thank you, ma'am, to take a look at your certificate, make sure all the biographical information is accurate and that your name is spelled correctly. Okay. In just a few minutes, the judge will be arriving. She will say a few words and then ask me to introduce each one of you individually. When I introduce you or say your name, I'd like you to stand and remain standing until after I say the country from which you come, and then you can be seated. And I'll introduce the next person or new citizen until I've introduced all of you, okay? If you're here helping an applicant and interpreting or translating, you may want to look at, all of you for that matter, at your program. Inside your program that the court has nicely given you, you'll see this is the program for today, and in it, the oath is going to be right here. So that may assist you in translating or interpreting, but it's important. That is your sole reason for being here today, is to interpret for your loved one. So make sure she says the oath in her own language, okay? If anyone has any questions, okay, we'll begin shortly. Thank you for your attention. It's a little early, but we're ready. Okay, I think about 6 minutes.
All rise. The United States District Court for the District of Kansas is now in session. The Honorable Julie A. Robinson presiding.
You can be seated. My name is Julie Robinson, and I am the Chief Judge of this court. On behalf of all of the judges of the federal court in Kansas, I welcome you to our courthouse and also offer our congratulations on you reaching this milestone in your personal journey. I'll now call on Kathleen Schley, who is the naturalization examiner. Schley?
This morning, I would like to introduce 15 applicants for United States citizenship. These applicants come from 10 different countries. They have met the formal requirements imposed by law for United States citizenship. Upon taking the oath of allegiance, each will have the rights, the privileges, and the responsibilities of U.S. citizenship. As I call your name, please stand until I say the country from which you come. Bertha Saavedra de Lemus from Mexico. Nang Lian Mong from Burma. Jeffrey Innocent Kenyanjui Karaku. Jeffrey? Kenya? Okay, we'll move on. Aldar Gilyandikov from Russia. Abraham Arias from Mexico. Leah Lin Ong from Burma. Angela Devi Singh from Fiji. Sarah Conrad from the United Kingdom. Jose Herman Pacheco from Guatemala. Carla Sofia Guillen Solano from Peru. Reston Bautista Nascal from the Philippines. Satya Ganesh Pintapati from India. Lakshmi Silpa Nadella from India. Gurinder Singh from India. Shivani Walker from India. And this, Your Honor, is our class of applicants for this morning. At this time, the government moves that the oath of allegiance be administered to the prospective citizens of the United States and that all petitions for change of name be granted.
My honor and pleasure to grant that motion. I will now call on Mr. Hokanson to administer the oath. We'd like for you to all stand, but it is a long oath, so if you are not able to remain standing, it's fine to be seated.
You will all raise your right hands and repeat after me. I state your name. Hereby declare on oath that I absolutely and entirely renounce and abjure all allegiance and fidelity to any foreign prince, potentate, state or sovereignty, of whom or which I have heretofore been a subject or citizen, that I will support and defend the Constitution and laws of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that I will bear arms on behalf of the United States when required by the law, that I will perform non-combatant service in the armed forces of the United States, when required by the law, that I will perform work of national importance under civilian direction when required by the law, and that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion. So help me God. Thank you.
And I would like to say congratulations to America's newest citizens. In this particular moment, it is probably fair to say that you are America's newest citizens. But the importance of citizenship is that it does not matter how long you've been a citizen. Whether you've been a citizen for 30 seconds or 30 years, whether you are a first-generation American or a 10th-generation American, it makes no difference. We all have the same rights and privileges and benefits of citizenship, and we all have the same burdens and responsibilities of citizenship. The oath that you just took speaks to some of the responsibilities and some of the burdens that we can be called into military service or into civilian service. But there are so many more responsibilities and burdens, as well as rights and privileges and benefits. Perhaps the most important right is the right to vote, because it gives us a voice in how we're governed and who governs us. In your packets are registration applications to register to vote, and I encourage you to fill those out and send those in as soon as you can, so that you'll be able to participate in the local, state, and federal elections that will come later this year, even starting this summer. We're living in very difficult times. First, we have the health crisis, which means that your family and friends and everyone that supported you to get to today can't be here in this room with you. Hopefully many of them can watch because we're live streaming this, and I see some of them are watching through the windows. We're also living in a time, very recently, of civil unrest, of people exercising their First Amendment rights to go into the public square and to raise their concerns and their pain and their frustrations and even their ideas about how things can be made better. I encourage you, as American citizens, to think about how you can make things better. Our country was founded on ideals and principles that are perfect or nearly perfect. But because we are a country of flawed human beings, we're just like every other human being on the planet. We are all individually flawed and not perfect. Our country has flaws and imperfections. But we're founded on these perfect ideals and principles, and the goal is to move closer and closer to those ideals and principles. I encourage you to think about and to act upon ways that you can make that happen. Maybe it'll be by you running for an elected office. Maybe it will be by you supporting, encouraging, helping someone who's running for public office, someone whose ideas and positions you think are strong and that would be very helpful. Maybe it is by volunteering in the community, in the neighborhood, in the city in which you live. And I also know that one of the ways that you can help America is through telling us your story. You all have unique stories of overcoming challenges and struggles to become American citizens. You've worked hard to get here today. You've had a lot of time and work, and you've had to be patient to get here today. And you value American citizenship. We know that because you've worked so hard to gain it. Unfortunately, there are people in this country that are citizens that don't value citizenship. And I think you have a lot to add to the conversation in the United States about the value of citizenship, the importance of citizenship, why you want to be citizens. You bring with you a lifetime of experiences. You have varying and diverse educations and skills and talents, all of which will make this country stronger. I always visualize the United States as a tapestry, a beautiful woven tapestry with millions and millions of threads. Today we add your threads to that tapestry. It becomes more beautiful as we weave in you to the body of American citizens, and it becomes stronger because we're strengthened by your knowledge, your backgrounds, your experiences, and your desire and your passion and commitment to American citizenship. So I thank you for that, and I wish you good health, and I wish you well. Again, congratulations, and we will be in recess.
All rise. Thank you. The court stands in recess.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me offer my personal congratulations to each and every one of you for what you have accomplished today. I would like for you to look around your area, make sure you have all your belongings and all your paperwork. We will be exiting the building from the side door.
Congratulations, everyone.
Breathe that in.
He's still up there. I wish they'd be It is 10:11. Well, no. Yeah, we are. Mm-hmm. They're already being checked in. Thank you, ladies.
You're number one, you get to choose any chair you want.
Welcome.
Hi there. Any chair you would like. chairs. Get two chairs together back there.
We got 13 in this one, and that's
Okay.
everybody for
Is
your
there a
entire-
no-show?
Nope.
Okay. On this one, you marked Jeffrey, but he hadn't checked in.
Okay, I think he did. He wasn't here?
No, he came in this group.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. I called his name, but it's all good. So 14, correct?
13.
13, okay.
13. And that's everybody for 10 o'clock.
Would you like the next one?
Yeah. Okay. Forgot about it.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. We'll get them all set up.
Mhm.
Hi there. Open chairs over there on that side. Anyway. Any of the open chairs over there. What mean this is 13 and
Yes, sir.
13?
Good morning and welcome. My name is Officer Sly. I'm a U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services immigration officer. And in a few minutes, I'll be introducing you. The judge will come in. She'll ask for me to call on you. I'll introduce each of you individually. When I do, I'd like you to stand. I'll say the country from which you come, and then you can be seated. Okay? until I introduce all the new citizens. If you're here helping an applicant through this process, your sole responsibility today is to translate the oath into their language so they may say the oath in their own language. That's very important. Now, in your packet, and you don't need to look at it right this moment, but make sure you make a note that it is in your packet. There's online resources for after the ceremony, applying for a U.S. passport. After today, you'll want to do that. If you are required to travel outside the U.S. for any reason, after today, you'll need a U.S. passport. Also, registration to vote, there's an application in your packet. You will also need to update your Social Security status. At this moment, some of the younger new citizens aren't worried about that, but when you retire, it'll be important that you've updated your status. In addition, there are resources on how to sponsor family members. If you have young children that live with you that are your biological children and they have their permanent resident card, they will too, and they're under 18, they today will become U.S. citizens. You can apply for their U.S. passport, and in addition, you'll want to file an N-600. All the forms and information can be acquired at our website. If you've not taken an opportunity to look at your certificates, I'd like you to check to make sure all the information on your certificate is accurate and that your name is spelled correctly. If you have a name change, you will have a name change document attached to the back of that. That will be your new name as of today. So congratulations. Thank you for your attention, and I'm glad to be here assisting you today.
For those of you that have cell phones, I would like for you to shut them off or make them silent so they will not go off during the ceremony, please. Thank you.
All rise. The United States District Court for the District of Kansas is now in session. The Honorable Julie A. Robinson presiding.
You can be seated. My name is Julie Robinson. I'm the Chief Judge of this court, and on behalf of all of the federal judges in Kansas, I welcome you to our courthouse and offer our congratulations on you reaching this milestone in your personal journey. I'll now call on Kathleen Schley, who is the Naturalization Examiner.
This morning, I'd like to introduce 13 applicants for United States citizenship. These applicants come from 7 different countries. They have met the formal requirements imposed by law for United States citizenship. Upon taking the oath of allegiance, each will have the rights, the responsibilities, and the privileges of United States citizenship. As I call your name, please stand, and I will say the country from which you come. Edith Adriana Halverson, Mexico. Jeffrey Innocent Kenyanjui Kariku, Kenya. Cynthia Requejo Perez, Mexico. Eva Shannon Avila from Mexico. Isabella Rayani Canido from Brazil. Solomon de Leon from Mexico. Margaret Ugo Onyeka from Nigeria. Mediatrice Bazirwa from Congo Kinshasa. Anna Vikan Tauscher from Croatia. Vadim Grandrabura Rotaru from Moldova. Blanca Gomez de Leon from Mexico. Jamie Dunas from Mexico. And Belen de Leon from Mexico. And this, Your Honor, is our class of applicants for this morning. At this time, the government moves that the oath of allegiance be administered to the prospective citizens of the United States and that all petitions for change of name be granted.
And I am happy and pleased to grant that motion. I will now turn to Mr. Hokanson, who will administer the oath of citizenship to you. It is a long oath, so if you're not able to stand, that's fine, but if you're able, please stand.
Would you please raise your right hand and repeat after me? I state your name. Hereby declare on oath that I absolutely and entirely renounce and abjure all allegiance and fidelity to any foreign prince, potentate, state, or sovereignty, of whom or which I have heretofore been a subject or citizen, that I will support and defend the Constitution and laws of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that I will bear arms on behalf of the United States when required by the law, that I will perform non-combatant service in the armed forces of the United States when required by the law, that I will perform work of national importance under civilian direction when required by the law, and that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion. So help me God. Thank you.
You can be seated. And I'd like to say congratulations to America's newest citizens. Now, you may be America's newest citizens at this particular moment in time, But the importance is that whether you have been a citizen for 30 seconds or 30 years, whether you are a first-generation American or a 10th-generation American, it does not matter. We all have the same rights and privileges and benefits of citizenship. We all have the same responsibilities and burdens of citizenship as well. The oath that you just took speaks to some of the responsibilities and burdens of citizenship, that we can be called into military or civilian service in a time of need. But there are so many other responsibilities and rights and benefits. One of the most important rights, and perhaps the most important right of a citizen, is the right to vote. So in your packages are registration applications for you to fill out and send in. I encourage you to do that and to do it soon so that you will be able and eligible to participate in the elections, local, state, and federal elections that are happening later this summer and then into the fall. There are many ways to engage in the benefits of American citizenship, and one is to exercise your right to vote so that you can choose who governs us and you can choose how government works for us. We're living in difficult times, needless to say, because of the COVID pandemic. Your families and your friends and those that have supported you to get as far as you've gotten so that you could be here to be sworn in today, they're not able to be in the room with you, unfortunately. Hopefully some of them are able to watch because we're live streaming this. I can see that some of them are standing outside and watching through the windows. We're also living in a difficult time, in particular over the last few weeks, as we've watched our fellow citizens go into the streets, go into the public square and exercise their First Amendment rights to raise concerns about injustices and things that are broken and things that need to be fixed. We are a country that is founded on principles and ideals that are perfect or almost perfect. But of course, we're also a country of human beings, each one of us individually a flawed, imperfect human being. And so while our history as a nation has been to reach for and to strive for those ideals, we've never reached them fully. That's something that we have to continue to do, to work together as American citizens so that our country can get closer and closer to the ideals upon which we're founded and on the ideals that we all love. So I encourage you to vote. But there are so many other things you can do as well. Perhaps you'll want to run for elected office because you have ideas about how things should work. Perhaps you would like to support, encourage, or help someone who is running for public office, whose ideas you think are strong and that should be given voice to. Perhaps you will do these things by volunteering in your city, in your neighborhood, in your community. But I also think that you each individually have a unique and important voice that we need to hear. You have a story that I hope that you will share with as many people as you can. You have proven by your actions that you value citizenship. You've worked hard to get to this day. You've had to be patient because it takes so much time. You've had to study. You've had to do certain things in order to earn citizenship. You value citizenship. You've demonstrated that. There are people in this country that are citizens that do not value citizenship like you do. And I think they need to hear your stories, the challenges and the struggles and the obstacles that you have overcome to be here today, why you value citizenship, why you wanted so desperately and passionately to become an American citizen. Your stories are things that can benefit all of us by hearing. And your diverse experiences and your talents and your knowledge, your education, who you are as an individual is something that we need in this country to strengthen us. I always visualize the United States as a beautiful tapestry made up of millions and millions of threads. And now you are threads in that tapestry. And when we sew in threads of people such as yourself who passionately want to be American citizens, who have had a lifetime of experiences of value and talents and skills and education, when we bring you into the tapestry, it becomes more beautiful and it becomes stronger. So I thank you for becoming American citizens. I wish you health and I wish you the very best. And I hope that you'll be able to celebrate with your family and friends today. We'll be in recess.
All rise. The court stands in recess. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me personally congratulate you on what you've accomplished today. Look around your area, make sure you have all your papers and all your belongings, and you will be exiting through the side door.
Congratulations, everyone. Stand here or by the flag? Okay. Wherever you want.
Here, come over here. You're welcome.
This someone's,
No, that was there.
Oh, you want to take your mask off? Very good. Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, we're gonna keep them coming. If they have them lined up.
I like it.
This one. This chair here.
Number one, you get any chair you
Hello. You got a
cell phones, would you make sure that they're either on silent or shut off so they will not ring during the ceremony, please? Thank you.
My name is Officer Sly. I'm with the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services at the Kansas City Field Office. Welcome to you all. I'd like you to take just a moment to look at your certificates and make sure all the information on the certificate is accurate, your date of birth, and especially the spelling of your name. If any are inaccurate, please let me know at this time. In just a moment, the judge will call on me to introduce each of you to the court. I will say your name, and when I say your name, I'd like you to stand, and then I'll say the country from which you come. Yes, ma'am.
You'll have 16 because it was a married couple. So.
Okay, no problem. Thank you, ma'am. Okay, excellent. So the judge will call on me. I'll introduce you individually, each one of you. When I say your name, good morning, you'll stand until I say the country from which you come. Then you'll be seated, and I can introduce the next person. In your packets, and you don't need to reach for it right now, just keep this in your memory. There's a small half a sheet of paper, and it's got all kinds of online resources that are available to you for information after your ceremony. Applying for a U.S. passport, which is needed if you're going to travel outside the United States after today. There's a registration form for voting. Today you can register, and I'd encourage you to do so. Updating your Social Security status. For you younger people, it probably doesn't matter at this point, but when you get older, it will. So make sure you do that. There's also resources on immigration benefits for your family members. And all that information is included in these websites. So if you have biological children that live with you and they are under 18, they too will become citizens as of this day. You may apply for a passport for them, or file an N-600. That's a form N-600 with U.S. citizenship. And all the information is on our website. Thank you and congratulations.
United States District Court for the District of Kansas is now in session. The Honorable Julie A. Robinson presiding.
You can be seated. My name is Julie Robinson. I'm the Chief Judge of this court, and on behalf of the judges of this court, I welcome you to our courthouse and also offer our congratulations on you reaching this important milestone in your personal journey. I'd like to introduce Kathleen Schley. Ms. Schley is the Naturalization Examiner.
This morning, I would like to introduce 16 applicants for United States citizenship. These applicants come from 5 different countries. They've met the formal requirements imposed by law for U.S. citizenship. Upon taking the oath of allegiance, each will have the rights, the privileges, and the responsibilities of U.S. citizenship. As I call your names, please stand. Nino Mikladze Cornish from Georgia. Jesus Vicente Flores from Mexico. Maria Shini de Goma Viana from Germany. Robert Reyes from Mexico. Benito Isidro Rodriguez from Mexico. Veronica Rodriguez from Mexico. Marco Antonio Cortez from Mexico. Rachel Moon Smith from South Korea. Sandra Hermosillo from Mexico. Abel Zuniga Chavez from Mexico. Kathy Vu from Vietnam. Ana Maria Marquez from Mexico. William Smith from South Korea. Nemechio Hernandez Jimenez from Mexico. Hai Shu Li from China. Yasmin Margarita Gonzalez from Mexico. And this, Your Honor, is our class of applicants for this morning. At this time, the government moves that the oath of allegiance be administered to the prospective citizens of the United States and that all petitions for change of name be granted.
All right, it is my honor and pleasure to grant those motions. We'll now turn to Mr. Hokanson. He's going to administer the oath. It is a long oath, so if you're not able to stand, that's fine, but if you are able to, please stand.
If you all please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. Hereby declare on oath that I absolutely and entirely renounce and abjure all allegiance and fidelity to any foreign prince, potentate, state, or sovereignty, of whom or which I have heretofore been a subject or citizen, that I will support and defend the Constitution and laws of the United States of America, against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that I will bear arms on behalf of the United States, when required by the law, that I will perform non-combatant service in the armed forces of the United States when required by the law, that I will perform work of national importance under civilian direction when required by the law, and that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion. So help me God. Thank you.
All right, you can be seated. I'd first like to say congratulations to America's newest citizens. So glad that you have made this part of your personal journey of life. We are living in difficult times, and I know that you have a lot of people, your family, your friends, people that have supported you to get you this far that aren't able to be in the room with you because of the COVID pandemic. But hopefully some of them are able to watch because we're live streaming it. I see that some of them are outside the windows there watching as well. This is a day for you to celebrate and for them to celebrate with you, and I hope that can happen later. We're also living in difficult times, as we've seen over the last week or so. People exercising their First Amendment rights to go into the streets and to raise concerns and frustrations and even anger and ideas about how we can make this country a better place. There are so many rights and so many responsibilities of American citizenship. There are also benefits and privileges and positive things about American citizenship, as you know. And you are America's newest citizens, likely, at this particular moment in time. But it does not matter whether you have been an American citizen for 30 seconds or 30 years, or whether you are a first-generation American or a 10th-generation American. We all have the same rights, responsibilities, burdens, privileges, and benefits of citizenship. The oath that you took speaks to some of those responsibilities and burdens of citizenship. For example, we can be called into military or civilian service. But there are so many more responsibilities as well as rights. And one of the most important rights we have as an American citizen is the right to vote. So in your packets are applications to register to vote. I encourage you to fill those out and send them in as soon as you can so that you will be eligible to participate in all of the elections that are coming later in the summer and in the fall, local, state, and national elections, all of which are important. There are many other ways that, as American citizens, we can participate and strive to make this country live up to the ideals and the principles upon which it was founded. We know that the United States is not perfect, and how could it be? Because it's made up of millions of people. Each one of us are imperfect human beings. But yet we have these ideals and principles upon which the country was founded that are perfect or nearly perfect, and together we have to work towards that perfection. So we do that by voting, but there are many other ways as well. Perhaps you'll want to run for elected office. You have ideas, you have dreams that you would like to see fulfilled, and you think the best way that could happen is for you to be a representative of people that vote you into office. Or perhaps you would like to encourage, support, and help someone that you know and whose ideas and positions you think are sound and strong to run for office. There are many other ways to participate through volunteering in our neighborhoods, communities, cities, to help other people. All kinds of ways for all of us together to reach for the ideals of American citizenship. I think one of the most important things that you can do is to share your individual stories. You have proven by being here today that you value American citizenship and that you were willing to fight to get American citizenship. It took you a long time to get here. You had to have patience and time, and you studied and you worked hard to become an American citizen. There are people in this country that are American citizens that do not value citizenship like you do. And I think it's important for people like that, and really for all people, to hear your stories, how you overcame challenges and struggles to even come to the United States, and how you overcame challenges and struggles once you got here, all for the goal of becoming an American citizen and thriving in this country. I think we would all benefit from hearing your stories, and certainly benefit from your talents and your education, your knowledge, and your life's experiences. I always visualize the United States as a tapestry made up of millions and millions of little individual threads woven together. And now you join that tapestry. You as individual threads are woven into the American experience. And when we do that, when we weave in people such as you, who care about America, who love America, who worked hard to become American citizens, then we become stronger as a nation, because you're now part of us with your diverse experiences and all of the knowledge and experience that you bring with you. We're stronger and we're more beautiful. So I wish you good health. I hope that you're able to celebrate with everyone that helped you get to this point in life. And I wish you well as you go forward. Thank you for becoming American citizens. All right, we'll be in recess.
All rise. Thank you. The court stands in recess.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me personally congratulate each and every one of you on what you have accomplished today. Look around your area, make sure you have all your paperwork and all your belongings with you, and we will be exiting through the side door. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Family's all happy out here.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
You can apply for your passport at most post offices. So you'll want to go online and see who near you is doing that at this time.
Yeah, you usually have to make an appointment before you go in, because I did it recently. And, yeah.
But some of it you can do online as well.
Yeah.
That may help.
It does help, it does help.
It's a lot form
So
online.
it's not done here.
No, it's not done
No,
here,
no,
it's
no.
a post office.
Okay, thank you.
Congratulations. Yes, ma'am.
I thought there was going to be in all the things that
I'm sorry. Oh, okay. Well, you can petition to the courts to do so.
Not our court. We have to
No.
petition to state court.
would take a moment while we're seated here to look at your certificates and make sure that all the information, the biographical information, and especially your name is spelled correctly. That's very important. If there's any issues, now if you're having your name changed, you'll have your name change document attached to your certificate. Yes, yes. And I doubt that he's going to.
Yep, first one.
First one.
Thank you.
You're welcome. That's it. Okay.
You have a blank 445 with you?
I do.
Gal showed up and didn't bring her form.
Is he for the 11 o'clock?
12. Yeah, and I guess
I have a copy.
Yeah, if I can get just one.
It's a 3-page form.
Yep. Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Here's your 11 o'clock, and you have 2 no-shows and certificates are there.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
For those of you that are in the room, if you have a cell phone, please either silence it or shut it off so it will not ring during the proceedings, please. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Officer Sly. I'm a U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services immigration officer, and I'm here to help you through this process. In your packet, and you don't need to look for it at this moment, just keep in mind there are a number of resources that you can find. After today, you'll have to apply for a U.S. passport in order to travel outside the United States. I realize many of you won't be in yet because of the virus, but there's information about registering to vote, and there is an application in your packet. You will need also to update your Social Security status. For younger people, it may not seem important at this point, but when you get to retirement age, it will be. So you should do that. In addition, you can find resources on immigration benefits for your family. Okay, so make sure you look at that as you leave. Hopefully you've all checked your certificates and they're all accurate. If you're here interpreting or translating for your loved one, inside your program, there is, inside your program you all got is the oath. The judge will call on you in a few minutes to introduce you. And I will say your name. When I say your name, you're going to stand, and then I'll announce the country from which you come, and then you can be seated, and I'll introduce the next person till I've introduced everyone, all the new citizens in the room. But when she asks you to take the oath, you can either look on that program or so that your loved one, the new citizen, can take the oath in her own language. Okay? And we will begin in just a few minutes.
All rise. The United States District Court for the District of Kansas is now in session. The Honorable Julie A. Robinson presiding.
And be seated. My name is Julie Robinson, and I am the Chief Judge of this court. On behalf of all of the judges of this court, we welcome you to our courthouse and also offer our congratulations on you reaching this milestone in your personal journey. I'll now call on Kathleen Schley, who is the naturalization examiner. Ms. Schley?
May it please the court, Your Honor. This morning, I would like to introduce 10 applicants for United States citizenship. These applicants come from 7 different countries. They have met the formal requirements imposed by law for United States citizenship. Upon taking the oath of allegiance, each will have the rights, the privileges, and the responsibilities of United States citizenship. As I call your name, please stand. Carlos Alejandro Diaz, Mexico. Tu Tai Thi Nguyen, Vietnam. Rosa Estela Rip, Mexico. Muhammad Hassan, Pakistan. Anita Okai, Ghana. Oluwafemi Siwanu Olatunji, Nigeria. Ying Chen, Taiwan. Enrique Hernandez, Mexico. Monica Daniela Guzman, Bolivia. Denise Hernandez, Mexico. And this, Your Honor, is our class of applicants for this morning. At this time, the government moves that the oath of allegiance be administered to the prospective citizens of the United States and that all petitions for change of name be granted.
I am happy and honored to grant that motion. I will now call on Mr. Hokanson, who will administer the oath to you. It's a long oath, so if you're not able to stand, that's fine. You can remain seated, but otherwise, please stand.
Thank you, Your Honor. Please stand as you're able. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. Hereby declare on oath that I absolutely and entirely renounce and abjure all allegiance and fidelity to any foreign prince, potentate, state or sovereignty, of whom or which I have heretofore been a subject or citizen, that I will support and defend the Constitution and laws of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that I will bear arms on behalf of the United States when required by the law, that I will perform non-combatant service in the armed forces of the United States when required by the law, that I will perform work of national importance under civilian direction when required by the law, and that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion. So help me God. Thank you.
All right, you can be seated. I'd first like to say congratulations to America's newest citizens. So, as America's newest citizens, I think it's important for you to remember that it does not matter whether you have been a citizen for 30 seconds or 30 years, or whether you are a first-generation American or a 10th-generation American. We all have the same rights and privileges and benefits of citizenship. We all have the same burdens and responsibilities of citizenship. The oath that you just took speaks to two of the responsibilities and burdens of citizenship, in that we all can be called to military service or to civilian service in times of need. But among the many rights and benefits and privileges of citizenship, many would say the most important right of all is the right to vote. And so in your packets, you have registration applications, and I encourage you to fill them out and mail them in so that you will be eligible to vote for the elections that are coming later this summer and in the fall, local, state, and national elections, all of which are important elections. I'm saddened that your family and your friends can't be here in the room with you like ordinarily they would be if we were not in the time of health crisis. Hopefully, many of them are able to watch because we're live streaming, and I do see that there are some people that are looking through the windows, and I hope that you'll be able to celebrate with them. We are watching around the country Americans exercising their First Amendment rights to go out in the public and to raise concerns, anger, frustration, and ideas about injustices, about things that are broken in this country. America was founded on a perfect or nearly perfect set of principles and ideals that this country has always strived to achieve, but we recognize that we are a country of imperfect people. Every human being on this planet is flawed, is imperfect, and so when you think about a country of millions of imperfect people, there are going to be things that are not right and that need to be corrected. So I encourage you to think about how you can work with everyone else to fix things that you think need to be fixed, to improve things that you see need to be improved. And one way to do that is through voting, but there are many other ways. Perhaps you will want to run for elected office. Perhaps you will want to support, encourage, help someone that you know is running for elective office, and you want to support that because you think they have good ideas about government and how things can be improved. Perhaps you'll want to volunteer in your community, in your neighborhood, in your city, to help other people, all with the goal of helping America get closer to the ideals upon which we were founded. One thing I know for sure, and that is that many people need to hear your stories. You each have an individual story of how you overcame challenges and struggles to even come to the United States and how you overcame challenges and struggles to become an American citizen. You've worked hard to be here today. It's taken a long time. You've had to be patient, and you've worked hard, you've studied hard, and you value American citizenship. There are people in the United States that do not value American citizenship as much as you. There are people that are born into citizenship that don't value citizenship, don't understand how valuable that is. And I think we're strengthened in America when we hear stories such as yours of people that have fought hard to become American citizens and that understand why that is so important. So I encourage you to share your stories. And I thank you for wanting to be American citizens, because our country is strengthened when we add people such as you that love the United States, that are willing to work hard to be an American citizen, that bring a wealth of experiences, life experiences, education, skills, and knowledge to help us become a better and more ideal country. I think of us, the United States, as being a tapestry, a beautiful piece of fabric made up of millions and millions of threads. You are part of the tapestry now, and as we sew your threads into the tapestry, it becomes more beautiful and stronger because of the addition of you to our country. So I thank you for wanting to be American citizens. I wish you health, and I wish you well, and I hope that you're able to celebrate today with those that did all that they could to help you get here today. They deserve to be celebrated. You deserve to be celebrated. So thank you for being here, and I wish you the very best. We'll be in recess.
All rise. Thank you. The court stands in recess.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. I would like to personally congratulate each one of you on your success here today. Look around your area, make sure you have all your paperwork and all your personal belongings, and we will be exiting through the side doors. Thank you. Thank you.
Sure, absolutely.
Congratulations. Thank you. Is this guy here too? This guy here?
No, Kim has got the list.
I've changed the ones out for Judge Hoffman to Judge Patrick. So those are ready to go. I just had to wait, but I didn't want to.
I'll wait for you.
Okay, we need shirts for noon.
Just gave it to Richard.
Oh, you just gave it to her. Great.
And we have 2 no-shows from 11. Maybe they'll come.
Yes. Let's wait until noon because I
Right.
already got the court thing signed by Judge Robinson, so.
Thank
Yeah. Well, and we're 30 minutes ahead of schedule. So.
We are.
30 minutes ahead of schedule.
Are we going to start to get here?
Yep. Perfect. As soon as we get here.
The 211s are,
Mama needs some lunch.
Parrot, Arrow, and James
Okay. Well, here, let's, in case they show up.
Yeah, you could put a dot maybe
Yeah.
by there,
Yeah. I'll give these.
because we're ahead.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Now, not Judge Crabtree will be.
Okay,
So I just want to let you know that.
all right, thank you. waited a long
Waited a
time for
long
this.
time, yes.
Yes, sir.
she left it at home. All right. She's got her speeding tickets, her traffic court, all that other stuff, but she didn't have her 445. Okay. Take a look. Thank you, ma'am. Hi there. Just any of the open seats will be fine. Hello. Any of the open seats will be fine. Hi there. Any of the open seats? Hi there. There's a couple of seats together over there and in the back.
You go grab your certificate on that table.
Yeah, he's in there.
Yep, come on back over here. Do you have a pen? Perfect, I need you to sign this. Right here on that line.
No, just any of the open seats would be fine.
Okay, yes.
Good morning and welcome. I would like to take this opportunity to ask you all to look at your certificates and make sure all the information, all the biographical information, and especially your names are spelled correctly. If you do that now, let me know if there is something that is not correct. If all is good, in just a few minutes, the judge will come in, and at that time, they will call on me to introduce each of you, all the new citizens. I will be introducing you one at a time, and when I call your name, remember, if you have a name change that you've requested previously, I'll be calling your new name. When I call your name, please stand. I will say the country from which you come, and then you can be seated so that I can introduce the next new citizen. In your packet, and you don't have to scramble for it now. Okay, thank you, ma'am. In your packet, there's a half sheet of paper, and it contains a lot of information that is valuable, will be valuable to you after today, such as applying for a U.S. passport. After today, you will be required to have a U.S. passport to travel outside the United States. So the information is in your packet as well, but these websites can assist you. Also, after today you can register to vote. There is an application in your packet, and I would encourage you to do so. In addition, your Social Security status, you should update that status. For the younger people, I know it's not as important now, but for your retirement, you'll be required to update that information. So it's good to get that done. Some of you may be interested in immigration benefits for your loved ones. You can find that information at these websites as well. When the judge comes in, I'll introduce you. You'll stand. I'll say your country, and then you'll be seated. Thank you so much for your patience and attention, and congratulations to you all.
For those of you that might have cellular phones with you, would you take this opportunity to either shut them off or silence them so that they will not ring during the ceremony, please? Thank you. We are ready to go.
All rise. The United States District Court for the District of Kansas is now in session. The Honorable Daniel D. Crabtree presiding.
Thank you very much. Please be seated. Good morning, all. Welcome to the United States District Court for the District of Kansas, where our court is convened in special session today for the purpose of conducting naturalization proceedings for those people who desire to become new citizens of the United States and who have, by hard work and persistence shown themselves qualified for that status. I am Dan Crabtree. I am a United States District Judge. I work in this courthouse. My regular job, is presiding over civil and criminal cases that are brought in federal court in the District of Kansas, which covers the entire state of Kansas. Today I get to do really the most fun part of my job, and that is be the judge at a naturalization proceeding. So thank you for what you did to let me be with you today. I do want to extend our court's welcome to you and to your family and friends who are supporting you through this project. So on behalf of my fellow judges and the professional staff from the court, welcome to our court. I regret very much that the public health conditions are what they are, that we're not able to be together in a single room with your family and community of supporters. When we decided to go forward on this, I guess you would call it, we shrunk the party. And when we decided to go forward on this basis, we had to make a decision, which is something that judges have to do all the time. And we considered whether to wait until the public health conditions had improved sufficiently that we all could safely get together in a single room, or whether to go forward. And our conclusion was to go forward with this, obviously, but the reason was we knew that you had worked hard for this moment, you had waited a long time, and that there wasn't good reason to delay it even another day. So really, we kind of cost you a party, but we did get you to the finish line on your citizenship process, and I'm hopeful that there will be a party in your day in a different setting after we finish here today. Just a little bit of history about the naturalization of citizens in the United States. A lot's changed in the world and in America since 1790, but some things haven't. I thought you might be interested to know that the path you traveled to become a new citizen and to find yourself on the brink of it today is the same path that new citizens have traveled in the United States for more than 200 years. Our Congress passed the first naturalization law in 1790, and ever since then, the path to becoming a new United States citizen has always involved a judicial proceeding of some sort. To be sure, today's proceeding is briefer and it's smaller than they customarily are, but thanks to the creative work of Ms. Leiniger and the other members of the court's professional staff, we figured out a way to get you across that finish line. I do want to make sure, and I don't think I said this, that through the gift of technology, I think some of your family, friends, community of supporters may be watching today across the camera feed going in some magical way out through the internet. I welcome them as well to our court. I hope you are willing to indulge me just a few brief observations about this courthouse and the federal court and the work and the role that it plays in your new country. You may know this, given all the things you've studied and learned. You may know this actually better than many citizens who were born in America. But just in case, let me just emphasize a few things about your federal court. Your new country is one of the few countries in the world that has a judicial branch that is independent of the other branches of government. The judges in the federal judiciary are not controlled by a king or a prime minister or a parliament. I am not telling you, of course, that judges in the federal system are free to do whatever they want. They're not, and they shouldn't be. Instead, what I'm telling you is that our judges, when they take the oath that they take, they are duty-bound to follow the Constitution and follow the laws that the other branches of government enact, so long as they are faithful to the Constitution. Their duty is to follow that law and decide cases, whatever the result would be under the law and under the Constitution, even if that result, and it sometimes is unpopular, unwelcome, uncomfortable, or subject to public criticism. So that's a last-minute refresher on the third branch of government. There won't be any test on it today, but I at least wanted to remind you of some of the things you had learned. In just a moment, I'm going to introduce Officer Schley. She's with us today as a representative of the second branch of government, the executive branch of government. She is an officer with the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services. And I was thinking about what you had been through and the pathway to today, and it really does, it's emblematic of all three branches of government and the roles that they separately play in our government. This all started with, as you heard me say, Congress passing a law that allowed citizens to allowed people to become naturalized as citizens. It's left with Officer Schley's executive branch, her agency of the government, to administer that process and to make sure that your pathway satisfies all the things that the Congress specified in that law. And then it is up to the branch of government I work for, the third branch of government, to close the loop in a proceeding like this. So the process that you followed really is the way the government is intended to work, and in your case it has worked as it should. With that, I'll introduce Officer Schley. She is here from the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services. Officer, I hope you'll introduce our new citizens.
May it please the court, Your Honor. This afternoon, I would like to introduce 14 applicants for United States citizenship. These applicants came from 11 different countries. They've met the formal requirements imposed by law for United States citizenship. Upon taking the oath of allegiance, each will have the rights, the privileges, and the responsibilities of United States citizenship. As I call your name, please stand. Demis Gebri Bereda, Ethiopia. Jeronima Morales, Guatemala. Somchi Chithith, say your name. Okay. Southam Mavong from Laos. Thank you, ma'am. Jiang Gang Shi, Canada. Hee Ran Kim, South Korea. Nicholas Reza Gavinci. Okay. Nicholas from Iran. Damaris Ortiz from Mexico. Nadezhda Angelova Maneva from Bulgaria. Georgiev Manev from Bulgaria. Jamel Kilif from Algeria. Ramya Erikath from India. Francis Devoro Bakior from Ghana. Justino Francisco Sanchez Vasquez from Mexico. And Dawit Jacob Awino from Ethiopia. And this, Your Honor, is our class of applicants for this afternoon. At this time, the government moves that the oath of allegiance be administered to the prospective citizens of the United States, and that all petitions for change of name be granted.
Thank you very much, Officer Schley. It's my great pleasure to grant your motion. We're very close, so there's one more thing left to do, and that is for the oath of citizenship to be administered to you. Deputy Clerk of the Court, Jeffrey Hokinson, is going to come to the lectern in just a moment and administer the oath, and then I'll visit with you briefly after that. Deputy Clerk, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. Will you please stand as you're able? Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. Hereby declare on oath that I absolutely and entirely renounce and abjure all allegiance and fidelity to any foreign prince, potentate, state, or sovereignty, of whom or which I have heretofore been a subject or citizen, that I will support and defend the Constitution and laws of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that I will bear arms on behalf of the United States when required by the law, that I will perform non-combatant service in the armed forces of the United States when required by the law, that I will perform work of national importance under civilian direction when required by the law, and that I take this obligation freely, without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion. So help me God. Thank you.
Congratulations. I can't see your mouths, but I know you're smiling under there. I can feel it all the way up here. It's my great privilege to be the first person to address you in this fashion, my fellow citizens. I give you and my court's congratulations from all my colleagues. I salute you for what you have done. I admire what you have done. I couldn't be any happier for you. Our country has always needed new citizens, but if you've read the newspapers, watched the TV news over the last few months, you know that America needs her new citizens now more than ever. We need new ideas. We need your devotion to our national purpose and our shared values. We need your resilience, your grit. We need your gratefulness, and we need your example. I'll close these very brief remarks by simply referencing my favorite passage from the Declaration of Independence. I know it is a document, is one of our founding documents that you studied in this process. And the men who signed that document, and yes, in that time in 1776, they were all men, but the founders who signed that document, this is one of the things they said to one another and to their new citizens. We mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. Make no mistake about what has happened inside this room here this morning. You and I and all your new fellow citizens, just like the Founding Fathers, mutually pledge to one another your lives, your fortunes, and your honor. I will close our ceremony, my very brief remarks with this. I leave you with my promise that I'll do my very best to fulfill my part of that pledge, and I ask nothing less from you. I very much regret that it is not safe or healthy for me to greet each of you personally and to meet your family and friends and communities and to hear your stories about what led you in your life to this moment. Please know that I love all the parts of the naturalization ceremonies, but getting to meet the participants and hear how they came to this moment is one of my favorite parts. I regret very much that it's not safe for us to do that, but please know that my heart sings for all of you today. Congratulations. Last piece of business. I think on the chairs that you're now sitting in, you found some information about voting and registration to vote. The right of a citizen to vote in public elections is one of the most important privileges of being a citizen. One of our Supreme Court cases referred to it as sort of the mother of all other rights, because it is that right that allows citizens to decide who will represent them in government. I encourage you to pay close attention to that information. I encourage you to register to vote, and I encourage you to exercise that right whenever you're given a chance to vote in election. With that, I'll close the session of court. We're now adjourned.
All rise. The court stands in recess. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to personally congratulate each and every one of you on your accomplishments to this date. Make sure you have all of your items that you have around you, your paperwork and anything else that you might have. We will exit the room to the west door.
Congratulations, everyone.
How are you, sir?
Oh, you have to go back through security. What did they take?
And then Jeff, if for some reason they need extras, I made 2 extra ones, or 2 of those, and I'll put, because sometimes Pete tells me there's more.
Okay.
Why would I do that?
Because
Hopefully all
how are you doing today?
for the last part. It's 12:08, so.
They were supposed to send me the new ones, so I don't know.
Well, I saw her coming back.
Thank you, ma'am. have a good evening.
You're number one, you can sit anywhere you want to.
Welcome.
Anywhere you'd like to sit.
Welcome.
Sit anywhere you want to.
Can you hear me in the back of the room? Okay.
Anywhere you'd like to sit. Any of the open chairs.
Welcome.
Any of the open chairs.
Welcome, sir.
Hi there. Any of the open chairs.
No, no. Welcome.
Hi there. Any of the open chairs would be fine.
Welcome, sir.
Hello. Any of the open chairs.
Welcome, sir. Oh, okay, Jeff. Thank you.
Any of the open chairs.
Yeah, sounds good. Hopefully I won't. But if I do, I will. Yeah, me too.
Hello. There's chairs back over on the side. Chairs back over on that side.
Good afternoon. My name is Officer Sly. I'm an Immigration Services Officer with U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services in the Kansas City Field Office. Welcome, and it's my pleasure to help you through this today. If you would, I'd like you all to take a look at your certificates and make sure that all the biographical information, and especially your name, is spelled accurately. Hopefully all the information is correct. In addition, you've got a wealth of information in the packet. There's a small half sheet of paper. You don't need to look at it now, but it has many online resources that you can use after today. After today, you will have to apply for a U.S. passport in order to travel outside the country. Of course, we probably won't be doing that for a little while, but that's something you might keep in mind. In addition, today you can register to vote. There is an application in your packet. I'd encourage you to use that and take care of that responsibility. That's very important. After today, you'll want to update your Social Security status. It's not as important for you younger people, but when you get older and ready to retire, it'll be important that you've updated your status. Some people may want information about their minor children or their immediate relatives. You can find that information at the bottom of the sheet. So that's enough of the housekeeping. In just a few minutes, the judge will come in and he'll introduce me so that I can introduce you to the court. I'll call on each of your names. When I do, if you would stand if you're able, and I'll say the country from which you come, and then you can be seated, and I'll introduce the next new citizen until I've introduced all the new citizens here today. So, in addition, there's a program that the courts gave you. Sir, you hold that up. Show people. It's colored, 2 pages. On the left side of the inside of the program is the oath that you're going to be taking. If you'd like to read along as the clerk announces that oath, he'll be saying it just a few words or phrases at a time so that you can repeat it or you can read it. Now, for the person interpreting, you'll want to interpret the oath so that your applicant she's not listening right now. Again, for the interpreter that's here assisting someone, you'll want to interpret the oath so that they can take the oath in their own language. That's very important, and that's the reason that you're here today. So if everything is good on your certificates, we're good to go. We'll be beginning in just a few minutes. Thank you.
If you have cell phones with you, would you make sure they're either on silent or shut off so they will not go off during the proceedings, please?
session. The Honorable Daniel D. Crabtree presiding.
Good morning. Please be seated. Welcome to the United States District Court for the District of Kansas, where our court is convened today in a special session, convened for the purpose of naturalizing those persons who wish to become new citizens of the United States and who, after much hard work, have shown themselves qualified to achieve that status. My name is Dan Crabtree. I am a United States District Judge. I work in this courthouse. I am one of the judges for the District of Kansas. My regular job is to preside over civil lawsuits and criminal cases that are brought in our judicial district, which covers the entire state of Kansas. One of my favorite parts of my job is getting to preside at naturalization ceremonies like this. On behalf of all the judges from our court and the professional staff who've worked to make today possible, I do extend our heartiest welcome to those of you who are present in the room and to those of your family and friends and communities of supporters who are joining across the camera and the great gift of technology. I regret very much that the public health conditions make it unwise for us to get together in one large courtroom as we ordinarily would for one of these ceremonies, but when we considered delaying these proceedings even longer so that we could all get together in one room, given all the uncertainties and the risks and the fact that you had worked long and hard to arrive at today, we elected to go forward in this much smaller setting at the price, unfortunately, of not having your family and friends be in the room with us. A little history about the naturalization process and the way that it has worked over the years. A lot have changed in the world since 1790 and in the United States too. But some things haven't, and one of the things that hasn't changed is the path that you, as prospective new citizens, have traveled. That is the same path that new citizens have traveled in our country for more than 2 centuries. When Congress in 1790 enacted the first naturalization law, and ever since that law was passed, back in 1790, the path to becoming a citizen has always involved a judicial proceeding of some sort. Now, today's proceeding is smaller than we would like, and it's going to be shorter, but thanks to the creative mind, Ms. Leiniger and other members of the court staff, we have figured out how we can do this and get you to that finish line. Let me just say a little bit about the role that the federal court system and the federal courts themselves play in the federal government of your new country. You've probably studied this, and you may even know it better than many naturally born citizens, but just in case, consider this a bit of a last-minute refresher about one of the branches of our government. Your new country is one of the few countries in the world that has a court system that operates in an independent fashion from the other branches of government. The judges in the federal judiciary are not controlled by a king or a parliament or a prime minister. Now, I am not telling you, of course, that judges in the federal system are entitled to do whatever they want. They're not, and they shouldn't be. Instead, what I'm telling you is that the judges in the federal judiciary are duty-bound to follow the law in the Constitution and in the laws that the other branches of government enact, so long as it is faithful to the Constitution. Judges must decide cases based on, in our federal system, based on those principles, wherever that takes the result in a particular case, even if it is an unpopular result, or an uncomfortable result, or a result that is subject to public criticism. In some ways, the work that you have done and the path that you have traveled to get to this moment really embody all 3 branches of government, because, as you heard me say, the law that allows people born in other countries to become new citizens of the United States, it started with Congress passing that law in 1790. I'll introduce you in a few moments to Officer Schley from the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. She works for the executive branch of government. It's her job and her agency's job to administer that law that the Congress passed, and then my branch of government, the third branch of government under Article 3 of the Constitution, it's our job to complete that circle and conduct a judicial proceeding where you can receive the oath of citizenship. So that's a last-minute refresher on some operating principles of the government of your new country. With that, I'll introduce now Officer Schley. As I said, she is an officer with the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services. And Officer Schley, I hope you'll introduce our new citizens, please.
This afternoon, I would like to introduce 13 applicants for United States citizenship. These applicants came from 7 different countries. They have met the formal requirements imposed by law for United States citizenship. Upon taking the oath of allegiance, each will have the rights, the privileges, and the responsibilities of United States citizenship. As I call your names, please stand if you're able. Ruth Wangechi Mena, Kenya. Hilda Leticia Ardon Ramirez, Guatemala. Yaneli Rodriguez Rubio, Mexico. Ping Han, China. Mikias Kifil Denboba from Ethiopia. Francisco Armando Valle Quezada from El Salvador. Fidelina Rosabel Romero from El Salvador. Alexander Aryutuyan Yan from the Ukraine. Alyuwatso Sin Emmanuel Adidipi from Nigeria. Diana Hancharova from the Ukraine. Carla Maria Gonzalez Mercado from Mexico. Anas Demiri from Morocco. Phong Thong Du from Vietnam. And this, Your Honor, is our class of applicants for this afternoon. At this time, the government moves that the oath of allegiance be administered to the prospective citizens of the United States, and that all petitions for change of name be granted.
Officer Schley, your motion is granted. The court sustains the motion and now calls on Deputy Clerk Jeff Hokanson to apply the oath of citizenship.
Thank you, Your Honor. Will you please stand as you're able? Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. Hereby declare on oath that I absolutely and entirely renounce and abjure all allegiance and fidelity to any foreign prince, potentate, state or sovereignty, of whom or which I have heretofore been a subject or citizen, that I will support and defend the Constitution and laws of the United States of America, against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that I will bear arms on behalf of the United States when required by the law, that I will perform non-combatant service in the armed forces of the United States when required by the law, that I will perform work of national importance under civilian direction when required by the law, and that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion. So help me God. Thank you.
Give yourself a hand. Please be seated. It's my great honor to be the person who gets to refer to you for the first time in this fashion. My fellow citizens, congratulations. I can't see your mouths, but I can feel your smiles underneath your mask. I know they're there. I'm very happy. They're very warm. I salute you wholeheartedly for what you have done to arrive at this moment. You have my great admiration. You have the congratulations of our entire court. We couldn't be any happier for you. America has always needed new citizens. We've always needed their new ideas and experiences. But if you've read the newspapers over the last several months or watched the news on TV, you know we need them now more than ever. We need those new ideas. We need your devotion to our national purposes and our shared values. We need your resilience. We need your gratefulness. And we need the example that you bring to our country. I'm not going to talk for very long. I simply want to leave you with a reference to my favorite passage in the Declaration of Independence, a document I know that you studied during this process, signed by our founding fathers, and in that time they were all men. They really were founding fathers in 1776. And those founding ancestors of the country, when they signed that document on July 4th in Philadelphia, this is what they said to one another in the Declaration. We mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. They pledged that to one another and to the citizens of the country that they had just formed. Please make no mistake about what has happened here inside this room this morning. The same thing has happened. You and I and all your new fellow citizens have pledged to one another our lives, our fortunes, and our honor. As we close this ceremony, I leave you with my personal promise. I'll do my very best to fulfill my part of that pledge, and I ask nothing less from all of you. I very much regret that I'm not able to greet each of you individually, to meet your family, your friends, the people that came with you today. One of my favorite parts of a naturalization ceremony is to get to hear from people about their story. How did this come to happen? What brought you to America? It's just simply not wise or safe for any of us to do that today, but please know that our entire court is delighted for you and delighted for you, the people who helped you arrive at this point in your lives. Our heart sings for all of you. One last piece of business. When you came into the room today, you should have found on your chair a package of information about how to register to vote. Voting in public elections is one of the most important privileges of being a United States citizen. One of the Supreme Court cases referred to the right to vote as being the mother of all other rights, because it is the right that decides who will serve in our Congress and as our president, and who will make those important decisions that shape the lives of our citizens, now including you. So I encourage you to review that information. I encourage you to register to vote, and I encourage you to exercise that right to vote at every opportunity that is given to you. This concludes this session of court. I leave you with my congratulations. We are now adjourned.
All rise. The court stands in recess. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me personally congratulate each and every one of you on what you have accomplished today. Look around your area, make sure you have all of your belongings and all your paperwork. We will exit through the side door. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Have a great day.
Oh, you know what? I'm going to grab that water bottle. Okay. Another day down.
One more to go.
Those are envelopes for us. We ran out of envelopes with that other registration.
Okay, see you Monday.
Bye-bye. Thank you. No, sir. Not that I'm aware of. That could change. Okay. I will if they ask me, for sure.
Sherry, well, she put me on every day.